All right. Yep. All right, let's begin. Welcome everybody to Architecting Intelligence, integrating AI agents into process-driven applications. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Melissa Arias. I am an Appian consultant at an amazing company called Depth Consulting, where I've worked for over 2 years now, and it's been an amazing learning journey for me. Before that, I graduated as a mechatronic engineer in the beautiful country where I was born and raised, which is Ecuador. And I've loved exploring things for as long as I can remember, so today I'm really happy to be here with you exploring a topic that is transforming how we design solutions in Appian, which are the AI agents. All right, so let's get started. So in this presentation, we will address a key architectural challenge that we developers now face, which is understanding when and when not to use an AI agent. All of this with the risk of overusing AI and underusing AI where it clearly adds value. So, to answer this question, we will go through the 6 main topics that we have over here. First of all, we will talk about understanding AI agents. In here, I'll talk about what's an AI agent and what are these AI agents in Appian. Then we'll go through this possible risk of overusing AI or underusing AI where it adds value. Then we will compare AI agents with other Appian components, like deterministic components and other AI skills. Also, we will see a decision framework and some examples of when and when not to use AI agents. Then, in the 5th point, we will talk about some hybrid architectures where I will show you how we can combine AI agents with human in the loop and AI agents with rule, records, and AI skills. And finally, I will show you a 10-minute demo about an example, a clear example of an architecture of hybrid architecture. All right, so before I continue, you can see that you have these documents in your tables. This is a handout document that I created, and it is a summary of the key points of this presentation. So if at some point you want to build AI agent, this is going to be really useful for you. So you can take them with you. All right, so let's begin with the first part, which is what is an AI agent? As you can see here, an AI agent is a low-code design object that uses AI in order to analyze data, intelligently reason, make decisions, and take actions automatically. What type of actions? They can be like updating a record or starting a process. All of this based on the goals and instructions provided. Also, you can use an existing design object and data as tools to reason through complex steps and automate an entire segment of a process. For instance, let's consider this picture that we can see over here, which is, let's consider that in a process of a company, they receive multiple claims, and they want to see if those claims could be approved or not approved. And that is an example of where we can introduce an agent there, because the agent could analyze the claims and decide if they should be approved or not. And that's something that makes the AI agent so interesting, because they don't only answer, they make decisions. And this is what they are so different from AI skills. Because AI skills are used for single cognitive tasks, like just extracting data, just summarizing a text, but the AI agents are for more complex parts of a process, like making decisions. And why are they so important also? Because they remove this part of the processes that are really tedious work, because there are some parts of processes in companies nowadays where people have to pause, investigate, and reason, and take some time before deciding how to proceed. And those are great examples of where we can introduce an AI agent there. Okay, so now let's see what are these AI agents in Appian. In Appian, the AI agents are these powerful autonomous agents that you can build, test, and monitor. Why we can do this? Because they are Appian objects that have been available since the 25.4 release. So they've been available since around November of the last year, so many people might not have used it until this point. But that's why I'm giving you a quick introduction about them. Also, they have these 4 components that we can see over here. They have inputs, outputs, goals and instructions, and tools. So let's see how they look in Appian itself. So here are the components of an AI agent. Here we have the inputs. The inputs is what we pass the AI agent to, and it's where the AI agent has to do its work. Also, we have the outputs, and this is what the outputs give to the process. Then we have the goals and instructions. The goals and instructions is where we tell the AI agent what to do and how to do it. And here is where we include 4 main sections that are really recommended to be included in the prompt, which are roles, tasks, instructions, and heuristics. The role is what the AI agent is in the process. As you can see over here, you are the Tellurium Telecom customer service agent. Also, the task is where we tell the AI agent what to do. Then we have the instructions, which are the steps that the AI agent has to follow in order to accomplish this main goal or this main task. Also, we have the last section that is really recommended to be included, which are the heuristics. The heuristics is like this mental shortcut that is going to help the AI agent to make quick judgments, all right? So that's also really recommended to be included. And finally, the section that makes the AI agent so powerful, which are the tools. The tools are this variety of resources that we have in Appian, where the AI agent has to do its job. We're going to have 2 types of tools. We're going to have action tools and knowledge tools. The action tools, let's begin with the knowledge tools. The knowledge tools are the ones where the AI agent is going to grab some knowledge, is going to grab some information. So to do so, we have document folders, documents, expression rules, and record types. Now, on the other side, we have these action tools. These tools are useful for the AI agent to make actions, like another agent itself, or process models. Which type of actions could there be? Like starting a process or updating a record. All right, so as we can see over here, this is how the new layout that has been available since the 26.2 release. As you can see, this layout is a little bit different from the one I showed you before. The one you will see before, it's the one that is going to be available in the Appian Academy, in the YouTube videos, but this is the latest layout. This is a split pane view that is more intuitive developer experience. And as you can see here at the left, we have the instructions, tools, inputs, outputs, and at the right, we have where we can include the information in order to test our AI agent. As you can see, this is a layout that is pretty similar to the rules, to the expression rules, to the interfaces, where we build everything at the left, and at the right, we test everything. Also, as you can see there at the top, we have the monitor tab, where you can access there, and you will see how your AI agent is behaving after you run tests. Okay, so also, we have the question of should I use an AI agent here or just write a rule, with the risk of over-engineering with AI or underusing AI where it adds value. So before continuing, let's go and see what are the possible risks. Okay, so we can have 2 types of possible risks: overusing AI agents and underusing AI agents. First of all, the risk of overusing AI agents, the first one is adding unnecessary complexity. Sometimes there are processes that have this really easy logic that if we use an AI agent here, we will be adding unnecessary complexity, and that could be easily handled by deterministic logic. Also, another risk of unpredictable behavior. Since AI agents have these probabilistic outputs, we will sometimes be adding unpredictable behavior. Also, the other risk of performance impact. As we know, AI agents, they're going to take around a minute to process and give us an output, and that's a lot longer than just deterministic logic. And finally, the last risk is over-automation risk. Sometimes there are processes that we should still add human in the loop, and if we take that human out, sometimes we'll have the risk of over-automation. Now, let's talk about the risks of underusing AI agents. First of all, we will have processes that have remaining bottlenecks. There are processes that, as I mentioned before, have a lot of tedious work where the person has to pause, investigate, reason before taking an action. And if we don't use AI agents there, we will have remaining bottlenecks in our processes. Also, another risk of underusing AI agents is the over-engineered rules. If we're trying to cover every scenario, then in these cases, if we're done using an AI agent, we will maybe having these over-engineered rules with a lot of constants, with a lot of paths to follow, instead of using an AI agent that can handle these ambiguous outputs. Also, the risk of poor user experience. Sometimes we have in our processes, we require recommendations, we require some type of justifications of a way to guide us of what decision to take. In those cases, we could use an AI agent, and if we don't, that can lead us to a poor user experience. Also, the final risk of underusing AI agent is the competitive disadvantage. As we know right now, AI is everywhere. In videos, even in Instagram videos, everywhere. We can see AI is being used everywhere. So many companies are already using AI for their solutions, and if we don't use AI, especially AI agents for our solutions, we'll be one step behind the rest of the companies. Okay. Now let's compare AI agents with other Appian components. Okay. So first of all, here we have the deterministic components. What I mean with that, these are the deterministic, the traditional Appian components. Like, for instance, we have rules, we have process models, and we have decision tables. The main characteristics of them is that they are predictable, they are repeatable, and they will always give us the same type of answers. What are they best for? They are best for deterministic, high-volume tasks. If you want the same answer over and over again, then the best way to go is with deterministic components. How reliable they are very highly reliable because we will get the same answers over and over again. The cost of them is very, very low. We don't use that much resources to give this type of solutions, and where we can use them in calculations, compliance checks, and also defining thresholds. Now let's talk about AI skills. In here, I'm talking about generative AI skills like summarizing, like generating, classifying, and PII detection. In this type of skills, their main characteristic is that they are context aware, they are ambiguity tolerant, and they don't use tools. This is the main difference between AI skills and AI agents, that AI skills don't use tools. What are they best for? They are best for single cognitive tasks. Like if I just want to summarize, I just want to generate a text, then the AI skill is the best fit. How reliable they are highly reliable for these single cognitive tasks. Their cost is low to medium because in the AI skill, we're going to start using a little bit more resources due to the tokens, due to the use of tokens. And where we can use them, as I mentioned before, to summarize documents, for sentiment analysis, for extracting data from a document. I know about AI agents. This is everything I've been talking until this point. So the main characteristics of the AI agents is that they interpret data, they handle ambiguity, and the most important part, that they use tools. What are they best for? They are best for complex multi-step tasks that require decision-making. How reliable they are medium to high because they have these probabilistic outputs, and their cost is medium. Why? Because here we use resources for tokens usage and when we use tools. All right, and where we can use them for case triage, for multi-system data synthesis. Okay, so now that we know their difference, let's see when and when not to use an AI agent. Okay, first of all, I want you to see this really useful decision framework where you need to ask yourself this path. You can ask these questions in order to see which path you have to follow. First of all, do you need AI to perform a single cognitive task within a process? If you do, then do you want to control AI, where AI is used and the workflow, the path that the flow needs to follow? If you do, then you have to use an AI skill. If you don't, then you have to use an AI agent. Now let's go all the way back. Do you need AI to perform a single task within a process? If you don't, do you need AI to handle a complex task that couldn't be defined up front? If you do, then you should use an AI agent. If you don't, then you need to revisit your problem because you might not need AI to solve your problem. Okay, so now let's see some specific scenarios of where we definitely should use an AI agent and where we definitely shouldn't. First of all, we should use an AI agent for multi-step reasoning. If we have a task that has to follow and go through different steps, we should use an AI agent. Also, when we have ambiguous or unstructured input interpretation, like if our inputs are data similar to free text case submissions or documents, in that case, are ambiguous and unstructured inputs, and AI agents are the best way to go. Also, we can use AI agents when we have cross-system data synthesis, like where we need to gather information from different record types, we need to gather information from integrations. In those cases, AI agents are the best fit. Also for exception handling and assistive decision support. Let's say that in a process, again, it's useful for us to have some recommendations of which path should we follow. In those cases, AI agents are the best way to go. Now, let's see some scenarios of where we definitely shouldn't use an AI agent. First of all, when we have deterministic logic. And that's really obvious, but for instance, let's say that we have an input X that must always reproduce an input Y. In that case, it would be way easier to definitely just use a rule instead of an agent. Also, when 100% reproducibility is required. When we want the same answers over and over again, then we're going to have to use a rule instead of just an AI agent. Also, another example of when we should not use an AI agent, when we have high volume, low complexity tasks. If they are this simple repetitive tasks, we could just simply use a workflow, a normal process model, instead of an AI agent. And also when we have performance critical real-time logic. Let's say that in UI we want to show or hide something from the UI. It's way easier to just use deterministic logic instead of using an AI agent. And finally, something that is really, really important when we shouldn't use an AI agent, when a single AI skill is enough. Let's say we just want to classify something, we just want to generate something or extract data from a document. In that cases, we could simply use an AI skill and not complicate our lives using AI agents. Okay, so now I'll show you some examples that are going to be easier for you to understand if we should or should not use an AI agent here. Let's see this example over here, where we need to assign a loan approval task based on the loan amount threshold. Let's say that in a company, we have a loan requested that it's over $25,000. And if it's over this value, it should be assigned to a senior credit officer. Otherwise, it should be assigned to a standard approval kiwi. This would be the way to go, making a small comparison or using an XOR in a process model. We could do that just using deterministic components. Now, we could solve the same scenario using an AI agent while giving the loan application to the AI agent, making the AI agent analyze and decide the way to go. So in here, the AI agent will decide who to assign this task to. So in this scenario, what would be the best way to go? In here, the best way to solve this problem is using deterministic components. Why? Because we just have this type of solution that is a defined value. If we exceed this value, we do this. If it's under this value, we go this other path. So it's not necessary for us to complicate the logic using AI agents. Now, let's see the second scenario, where we have to automate an ET provisioning for new hires. So in this company, let's say we're having lots of new hires, and if we want to provision each one of them, so let's say that right now I need to provision a sales engineer. So the way to solve this problem with deterministic components will be that the HR needs to submit a new hire request. Then it will be assigned, a task will be assigned to the IT team, where they will have to check the policy, the resources, the licenses, and this will be the manual step because the IT team will have to decide what to assign to the new sales engineer. And finally, the assets will be assigned to the new hire. So this is the way that can be solved by the deterministic components. Now, how can it be solved with an AI agent? First, the HR will have to submit again the new hire request, and the AI agent will have the goal of provisioning a new sales engineer. Here, the task will be to read this policy document, decide the hardware and the permissions, and assign the correct hardware and software access with integration tools. In here, what would be the best option to go? Here is a great example where we can use AI agents because it can save the time for us of the manual part where we have to go through this 50-page policy and decide what to do. So that was a great example of where we could use an AI agent. Now let's talk about hybrid architectures. Okay, so what we need to consider when we want to combine the hybrid architectures with human-in-the-loop workflows. We need to consider, first of all, the high and low risk tasks. For high-risk tasks, I mean when the cost of error is high. If the AI agent makes a mistake here, if it's going to cost a lot to the company, those are the case of the high-risk tasks. In these scenarios, we need to balance the autonomy with human oversight. But it doesn't mean that the AI agent is not going to do anything here. For these scenarios, we can use an AI agent to give us a recommendation and a good justification, and we can use that instead of analyzing all the documents and everything, but we just can receive this quick recommendation, this quick summary, and after all of that, we can decide what to do. In here, the human oversight will mitigate the risk of errors. Now, for low-risk tasks, when the cost of error is low, I mean this type of processes that if the AI makes a mistake, it's not going to cost that much to the company. In those scenarios, the agent can operate fully autonomously. Okay, and also, almost forgot. As you can see here, I included this little message over here in in yellow. In here, it's important to consider that if you want to combine AI agents with AI skills and deterministic components, you must use AI agents for reasoning, AI skills for specialized tasks, and rules for deterministic control. Okay, so now let's see how we can combine all of these components together in this demo over here. Okay, so for the demo, we will consider an application called Leave Request Manager. This application is going to be for a fictional company called Solvaris Consulting, and this application is going to manage an employee leave request. Okay, we're going to have two types of requests that are going to be PTO and sick leave. And in here, we will combine deterministic logic for policy-based validations. We will consider AI skills for summarizing really long leave requests, and we will use the AI agent for deciding what to do. It can whether auto-approve directly when the request is really straightforward, it doesn't have like that much ambiguity, and also we will decide to escalate to HR for complex scenarios. So the groups that we will have in the applications the application is going to be the employees that will submit the leave request, and the HR managers that are going to be in charge of reviewing the escalated leave requests. All of this following the time off and sick leave policy guide. So this is going to be, of course, I didn't include the whole document here, but this is another screenshot of this document that we will consider that the AI agent is going to analyze. So in this document, we're going to have two main sections, the PTO request policy and the sick leave request policy. For the PTO request policy, we'll have multiple sections, but the most important part is this one over here, is the advanced planning expectations. This is for the deterministic logic. So if the employee submits a request that is up to 3 days, then it must be submitted with at least 3 weeks in advance. But if the employee submits a request that has more than 4 consecutive days, it must be submitted with at least 6 weeks in advance. And something really important to consider that if it's outside this window, it should not be approved. Okay, so that's something that we could easily handle with deterministic logic. But also, the ambiguous part of this process is going to be handled with the sick leave part of the policy that I will show you in the demo. Right, so let's see this small video that you can see over here. Okay, so let's consider our first scenario where we have our standard PTO request when no AI agent is needed. So as you will see, we will handle this just with deterministic logic. As you can see here, this is the employee dashboard where we have multiple leave requests, and this is the leave request, and here is the section of quick actions and important information for the employee. So I'm going to go ahead and submit a new leave request with the paid time off, which is a normal vacation. Oops, sorry. And we have the start date and end date. So let's say today is April 6th, so we're going to submit a vacation from tomorrow until Friday. And the reason is because I'm going to go to the beach with my family. So I'm going to submit this form, and as you can see, it was immediately rejected. The reason of this is because it was submitted outside the minimum PTO advance notice required by the Solvaris time off policy. So let's go to the process and see why this decision was taken. Okay. So I'm going to refresh the process monitor, and as you can see over here, this is the instance that we just created. And in here, this is the path that was followed. So I'm going to stop in the first part of the process, which is the calculate short notice flag. And as you can see over here, here is where I include the created on, the start date, the consecutive days. And finally, I create this output, that is the advance notice days and the short notice flag. As you can see over here, in this scenario, the advance notice days flag is 1, so the short notice flag is set to true. And here's where I handle the deterministic part. That is the chart that I showed you before. If it's up to 3 days, it must be submitted with at least 6 weeks in advance. If it's more than 4 consecutive days, it must have been submitted with at least 6 weeks in advance, which is the current scenario that we are right now. We requested from Tuesday to Friday, which are 4 days. And in our case, since we submitted just 1 day before this, it's going to be, the short notice flag is going to be activated. Because we are outside of this window, And then if we go to the process, as we can see over here, we have if it is a PTO, which is our case, then we go through the XOR is short notice flag, which is it is, so it can be immediately rejected without going through the AI agent, okay? So in this case, we didn't use AI agent. So let's go through the next step where we will use an AI agent. Deterministic logic combining with AI skills and the AI agent. And in this section, we're gonna use the second part of the document that I told you before, which is the sick time request policy. In here, we will consider the unexpected illness or emergency absences, which is, as you will see in the video, we will include an ambiguous leave request and the AI agent will do its job. So let's go ahead and submit a new leave request. In this case, it's gonna be a sick leave. Again, let's say today is April 6th, so I'm gonna submit all the day of April 6th. And the reason why I'm requesting a sick leave is because I woke up feeling really bad, I have a fever, I'm feeling unwell, I've moved all my meetings, I've talked to my clients, I'm not blocking anyone. So this long leave request is submitted here, and I go ahead and submit this form. As you can see here, it is right now under review. And the request reason that you can see over here is a lot smaller than the one that I included. Why? Because I'm using AI skills to summarize this whole leave request that was really, really long. So let's see how this is working in the process. Okay, so I'm gonna open this process instance that I just created. And as you can see over here, this is the path that was followed. As you could see before, it was a long leave request. So I'm gonna go to the AI skill that will summarize this leave request reason. This is a normal AI skill where I just configure to saying in the prompt that I want you to summarize the leave request reason into a clear, concise, and easy to understand description in 1 or 2 sentences. Okay, so why is this pattern useful and why we don't send this directly to the AI agent? Because the AI agent can finally focus on the main important part, which is deciding what to do, which path to follow. And the AI skill is going to help us reduce the amount of time that the AI agent is going to take in order to make a decision. All right? So, as you can see over here, following the process model, this was not a PTO, it was a sick leave request. We write the leave request in order that we can see in the UI that it is right now under review. So let's see how we configure now our AI agent, whose name is going to be leave request intake. The role is that you are a Solvaris consulting leave request intake, the first section that I told you before. Then your task is going to be to decide whether to auto-approve or escalate to HR for more complex scenarios. Now let's see the instructions. As you can see here, they are really clear. They are really not so ambiguous. They are consistent enough and give enough context for the AI agent to know what to do. So as you can see here, first, I want you to analyze the input information, which is the leave request itself, that has the summary, that has the short notice flag, the create date, the start date and end date of this leave request, and then use the Solvaris time off policy to decide which would be the best option to go. Also, we retrieve prior leave requests in order to see if there is a repetitive pattern. Maybe this person is requesting a leave request every Sunday, every Monday, every Thursday, things like that. So then it's a complex scenario because there is a repetitive pattern. Okay, so based on all of this, the AI agent will have to auto-approve, considering all of this, and will have to escalate to HR for more complex scenarios. And finally, the last sections, which are the heuristics. The heuristics is what I mentioned to you before, which are these like mental shortcuts that will help the AI agent to make quicker decisions. Now, something that is really important to mention here in these heuristics that I included here is that we need to consider that if there are short notice requests, they should only be approved if it's a clear urgency. If the health of the employee is compromised here, then it should be approved. All right? If it's not, if it's like a statistical process or something like that, it should not be approved. Now let's see the tools that we included here. First of all, we have the Solvaris time off policy, of course, the document that I shared with you before. Then we have the leave request record check, where we can see previous leave requests submitted by this employee. Also, the inputs is going to be the leave request itself that I submitted with the start date, end date, the reason, all of that. And now also the calculated flag. So this leave request is the one that I just submitted as the employee. Now the outputs are going to be escalate to HR, it's going to be is approval recommended, and finally the decision justification. As you can see over here, I have these tooltips are the descriptions of these inputs and outputs, and as you can see before, they were not simple. They were not like input, data, information, because this helps the AI agent to make a better decision. So you need to include detailed but concise and useful information for the AI agent to know how to proceed. Okay, and finally, as you can see here in the monitor, let's open the AI agent that we just ran. And as you will see over here, these are all the steps that the agent followed, like going through the policy, going to preview the request, blah, blah, blah. And after all of this, the AI agent decided to escalate to HR, false. And is approval recommended? Yes. So it could be immediately auto-approved by the AI agent. Okay, so as you can see here, why it was approved? Because it was short notice, but it means clear urgency. So in that case, it could be approved. And as we can see over here, it was approved by the system, and the decision justification is the one that I showed you before that was created by the AI agent. All right, now let's see our last scenario, which is the human in the loop workflow. In here, we will consider again the seek time request policy section, and we're going to go through the non-urgent medical procedure section. In here, we need to consider that if a procedure is non-urgent, it should be handled as a PTO or as an unpaid leave. If that's the case, we should consider the PTO timelines that I showed you before. Okay, so let's submit a new leave request. In this case, again, it's sick leave. The start date is going to be, again, today is April 6th, so it's going to start from tomorrow to the next Monday. And the reason of the urgency here, we're going to see in the leave request reason, is that I'm going to have a rhinoplasty. And the reason why it was suggested, it was submitted like this, is because a surgery slot became available for tomorrow due to a cancellation. All right? And here I've moved my meetings, like before, I'm not blocking anyone, blah, blah, blah. So I submit this form. Okay? So as you can see here, well, the video was streamed, so we don't wait for the AI agent to take a decision. But it was, the status is decided to be escalated to HR. Okay, and here we can see the request reason that was summarized, and as we can see, it's escalated to HR. So let's see why this decision was taken. In here, I'm again going to refresh, and I'm going to open the leave request instance that we created. This is the path that was followed. Again, we went to the AI skill to summarize this for the AI agent to do a better job. Then we write the leave request, and then the AI agent was executed. Then after analyzing the document, after analyzing the scenario, the AI agent decided to escalate to HR. Okay, so we save the outputs, blah, 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 and then we can continue with the next part, which is seeing that it was escalated to HR, then the AI agent, the HR needs to check this leave request. So right now I'm gonna be logged in as Haley HR, our HR manager, and as you can see here, it is escalated to HR. Here we have the summarized by the AI skill reason. And as you can see here, it was recommended to be rejected. So let's see why. In this action, we will have the review leave request. And in here, we will have information like who submitted this, in this case, me. The category is going to be sick leave, and the amount of hours is going to be 40. Also, we have the flag that it was a short notice flag. That is going to be useful to take a decision. Here we have information related to dates, the request summary that was created by the AI skill that is also useful for the HR manager to make a decision. And finally, here we have the most important part, which is what the AI agent created for us. It is recommended to be rejected due to all of these reasons, especially it's non-urgent, short notice validation, it's in appropriate leave category, so it is requested to be submitted as a PTO and be treated as that. So in that case, reading all of this, the HR can decide to reject and can include some decision notes based on the AI agent justification. So in this case, as an HR, we don't have to go through the whole policy, read everything again, and decide what to do. The AI agent helps us to do a quicker job here. Okay, so if we go back again to the employee dashboard in here, we will see that it was rejected. As you will see here, if I refresh, it will be rejected, and this decision justification is the one that was included by the HR. Okay, so after seeing this demo, there are 3 things that I want you to really remember. The key takeaway, that if you use AI agents with AI skills and deterministic components, The AI agent has to be used for complex multi-step reasoning tasks. The AI skills must be used for single cognitive tasks, and the deterministic components must be used for deterministic control. Okay? All right, so where you can continue your learning. If you want to learn more about AI skills, I really recommend you to go through Appian documentation. This video of build an AI agent in 10 minutes is going to be like a really quick guide of how to build an AI agent. But if you want to see more best practices and everything more AI related, like Appian Composer, chatbots, things like that, I really recommend you to go through the Appian Academy and Appian AI Learning Path. And finally, if you want to see some videos, you can finally go to the Appian Community YouTube playlist. Okay, so if you're interested in AI agents, I'll be happy to answer any questions, so you can contact me in my email over there. And also you can contact the company what I work for, which is Depth Consulting in our website. Or if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them in our booth. We'll have a booth here in the Appian world. We're going to be available in the booth K7, so come visit us. Okay, so also I want you to remember that the key isn't replacing rules with agents, but understanding how each one can work together in the right place. Okay, so that was it from my side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention. Yeah, one question here.
I have one.
Yeah.
Yes. So at the agent level, like as an AI doc center, and the humans in the loop, does it have a memory per environment? So does it kind of get better at the agent level, or does it need to remember things at the AI skill level, if that makes sense?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. So like at the agent level, because I haven't done a lot of these, and so I'm just curious, does it remember and kind of keep a record of the runs and the human in the loop, so it's able to go, oh, well, based on the last time, am I going to apply that to the new time?
Well, there could be a way that you can include some feedback in order for the developer to know how to do it instead of the AI agent to do it automatically. So it would be better to train the AI agent receiving some feedback from the user and then make some changes in the logic if something is not working as expected. So, yeah.
Thank you for your talk. It was really interesting, and I'm definitely going to be taking away some of those and sharing them with my team. Two questions. One, in terms of tool returns, like can you have mixed media? So you have a mix, so a tool returns a mix of a document and maybe a record and some text. And two, in terms of outputs, how well does Agent Studio work with complex nested records and data types?
Well, for the inputs, can you repeat the first part, please?
So how well does Agent Studio support mixed media inputs, so documents and data, for example?
Oh, we just need to clearly clarify in the tools what should be used, so it doesn't go through all of the tools that you're using. Like, for instance, if you just want to go through this document, you put it in the tools. You put it in the prompt. Like, first, you need to go through these tools, analyze all of that, and then if you need to go through this next step, you need to include that in the prompt. So it goes just to the resources that you need them to be included in there. And the second question?
The second question is about kind of complex data outputs, so records with nested relationships. How does it work for that?
Well, I really recommend you, since sometimes it's a bit difficult for the AI agent to go through all these nested records, it would be better, so maybe you could see here, sometimes maybe we are using like ref data tables or things like that, that could mean like going through different longer paths to take that. I recommend you to going through, making the AI agent don't take that long searching for which should be the answer. So maybe, for instance, you could see that I just have the toggle, like it's approval recommended, yes or no. Is escalation recommended, yes or no. And then you handle the rest on the process, and the AI agent takes less time deciding and putting this complex output in your process.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Other question there?
So my question is about like process model, a log and things like that. Is there an agent which I can use to look for any error or any execution path which can help me like troubleshoot any issue?
Well, at this point, as far as I know, the AI agent helps you more to solve parts of the progress itself more than troubleshooting. I think that would be better to be introduced at some point, but right now it's not. It depends on what you include in the prompt.
Okay. I have one more question around the resource utilization. Like with the use of agent, how is the resource utilization? Like how much it impacts the performance? How much it impacts the whole health of the system? Like if you start using agent a lot, does it impact the whole performance of the system?
Well, you have the limit of around, you can run up to 30 AI agents at the same time. So, well, it will vary according to how long is the prompt. It will vary according to the AI agent, so it's really difficult to say like, yes, it's not going to work until here or there. But I don't know, globally in the environment, I don't think it's going to impact that much because we use tokens and all that, but it doesn't have like this big amount of memory consumption, so I don't think it's going to like stop using your environment or something like that.
Okay.
But it's definitely mostly due to the token calls and tool calls and all of that, it's going to have like a lower response to deterministic logic. But yeah, it's really difficult to identify that it's going to stop completely your process or something like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would be interested in knowing that these agents that you have here, are they using any statistical model under the hood? Because I don't see any mention of any models being used here. It's just some steps that we are trying to put in.
Oh yeah, it's not like, I think you can handle that in the admin console. But it's not like you can handle that like in the AI skills that you can include the model that you want to use. So yeah, you can handle that as far as I know from the admin console.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on that. Like, is there a way you can bring your own model?
Well, that's a tricky question. I think I can investigate that further and you can contact me and we can answer that and follow up later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.